Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this CTFO Zoom event. My name is Adam Levy from Canton, Connecticut. Glad you could join us here. I've got a really special guest. We're going to be talking about our brand new 10xPure Ultimate Multivitamin and Mineral Formulation. We do have on the line our very favorite doctor friend of ours, Dr. Robban Sica, who is the doctor formulated behind the doctor formulated formulation of this incredible new multi. And we're just so excited to have you, Dr. Robban. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here. Just to get a little brief background, Dr. Robban Sica is an MD. She practices a holistic alternative practice down in Westport, Connecticut. Many different therapies, including nutritional therapies that she utilizes with her patients. But what I can tell you about Dr. Robban that I think is most telling is that she is the kind of doctor that most people who end up at her have been to other physicians who have failed to help. And she then treats the entire body, and it's, people get amazing results. And it's just a lot of it is nutritional therapy. And so when it came time to the formulation of CTFO's newest product, the 10xPure Ultimate Multi, it only made sense to go to an MD who focuses on nutritional therapies for all the years that she's been in practice. And so we're just so excited to have you share some of your thoughts about this product that you've helped develop. And, I know everybody I've told about it is just absolutely jazzed about trying it as well. So let's see if we can share the screen here and we'll get this thing rolling. Share that, play that.
My slides, yay.
Excellent. All right, Dr. Robban Sica, over to you, and we'll get this thing rolling.
So I'd like to start out by talking about, okay, how do I advance the slide?
No, I'll advance the slides for you if you want.
Okay. All right. I'm going to start out by talking a little bit about why people need a multivitamin in this day and age, and giving you a little nutritional background and understanding of what the basis of why you need a multivitamin, why you can no longer get what you need from your food. And so the diet is your diet should contain all your nutrients that you need, including the macronutrients like fat and protein and carbohydrate, but also it should be contain all the trace minerals, the vitamins, and all the other cofactors that your body needs that it can't manufacture itself. So if you're missing any of those components, your cells aren't able to manufacture the cellular repair components, and therefore you can't, the cells aren't going to function properly, in which case you're going to lower your reserves to be able to cope with disease and repair tissue if you've had tissue damage. Go ahead, Adam. So this is a basic premise that I use for 34 years now in my practice. And that's that if you have an optimal threshold, if you have the optimal amount of reserves in your system, you have everything you need, your hormones are working properly, you have all the nutrition, the proper nutrition that you need. And you're going to fight off most of these various stressors, both, emotional and physical, like infections and things like that. However, if you're deficient, you can see that orange line, the threshold in the deficiency state, all of a sudden you're more susceptible. So even if you have a pretty good constitution and you don't get sick, as much as another person might, if your reserves are down, if you're low in vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, etc., now all of a sudden, your neighbor or your friend or your coworker coughs on you and you get a cold, right? You get a virus and then you get sick, even if you're a pretty healthy individual and don't have a lot of health problems. People, again, this is really critical for people that are, have chronic issues, chronic unwellness, any kind of chronic disease. And a lot of the people that I deal with are over here on the right, where they've got not only deficient reserves, a lower threshold, but they've got all this other stuff going on that's stacking up, and that's why they can't get well. So when Adam says, I fix people that, aren't fixable by other doctors, this is what I look at. I look at, okay, how do we fix their diet? How do we fix their environment? What kind of stressors can we detox off? Can we treat their allergies? Can we, treat infections, et cetera? And surprisingly, 98% of the time, we're able to get that threshold up to optimal and drop those stressors down so that they drop below that threshold, and then they no longer have whatever symptoms it was that they came into the office with. You can go ahead, Adam. So this information is actually even a little bit old, and it comes from the National Academy of Sciences, which is an extremely conservative, in my opinion, conservative estimates. They're probably, 20 years old, this data, but it's only gotten worse, and I'll explain why that is. So if 50% of the population is deficient in calcium and 40% is in folic acid, I think that's even higher actually now. Chromium, which is a trace mineral, it's essential for blood sugar. Copper, we don't even know. Iron. Magnesium, I think it's probably up around 70-80% now of the population is deficient. And then niacin is a B vitamin, vitamin A, et cetera. And these are documented deficiencies in the population, just people walking down the street, anybody. Most people are going to have one or more vitamin and mineral deficiencies, which is going to lead to dysfunction in the cells and ultimately to some disease, whether it's cancer or heart disease or high blood pressure or migraines or whatever. But go ahead to the next slide. It's a stunning number of the population that is deficient in minerals and vitamins. So chromium causes weight gain, it causes blood sugar issues, and ultimately diabetes if it's low. Potassium can cause muscle spasms as well as cardiac arrhythmias, hair loss, etc. B6, and these are just a smattering of the conditions that could be related to deficiencies of one or more of these vitamins and minerals. So your B6, which is also called pyridoxine, vitamin B6, is strongly related to depression, fatigue, and things like PMS. Can you imagine? I mean, think of the number of people in our society that are on antidepressants now, just massive numbers of people that are being prescribed antidepressants. And maybe what they just need is some, a good form of vitamin B6, and that could help correct it. Riboflavin is vitamin B2, again, contributes to migraine, vision issues. Selenium, really important in terms of thyroid function, but also in terms of immune function. So it can lead to cancer and other diseases. And something as small as one Brazil nut a day has enough selenium to prevent deficiency. One Brazil nut. That doesn't take very much to make the difference between a strong immune system and a weak immune system. Vitamin A, of course, vision problems, but also anemia and seizure disorders. Vitamin B12 can cause anemia also, fatigue, etc. Vitamin C is critical for immune function and can lead to heart disease as well. Vitamin D is probably my favorite vitamin. I always talk about it. It's my favorite because it's so amazing. It really, if you get your vitamin D optimized, you don't get sick. You don't get colds. You don't get sore throats. You don't get the flu. Pretty much autoimmune disease. It can prevent things like MS and rheumatoid arthritis and things like that are autoimmune diseases. Calcium, of course, everybody knows bone density and osteoporosis, but also, low calcium can cause all kinds of muscle spasms, muscle twitches, etc. Iron, we know, contributes to anemia, but also hair loss, confusion, constipation, and other problems. Fatigue is another one. Magnesium, that's my favorite mineral. I love magnesium. Magnesium is a cofactor for over 300 different enzyme systems in your body. So if you're among the 60, 70, 80% that are deficient in magnesium, you can have anxiety disorders. You can have a heart attack. You can have no heart disease and have a coronary artery spasm that causes a heart attack. You can have muscle spasm in any area of the body, high blood pressure, and migraine headaches. I mean, that's responsible for a lot, right? So, if we look at disease prevalence, and again, this is a little bit older data, maybe even higher now, 80 million people in the US have elevated cholesterol, 60 million have high blood pressure, directly related to magnesium and other things, but, predominantly magnesium. 40 million plus have arthritis, and 16 million have the very debilitating and dangerous disease called diabetes. Because if you add up all of those percentages of who's deficient, 98% of the population is undernourished, is not getting enough of these essential vitamins and minerals. That means only 2 of us on this call, and I know I'm one of them, so one of you other lucky people are sufficient in all your trace minerals and vitamins. So, so I don't know who you are, but it's probably Adam, because he takes his nutrition every day. So as early as 1936, the U.S. government was already being concerned about the degree of these nutrients being depleted out of soil. And this was a Senate hearing, Senate document. It's in the Federal Register, the National Register. The alarming facts that fruits, vegetables, and grains being raised on millions of acres of land no longer contain enough of certain needed minerals and are starving us no matter how much we eat of them. That was 1936. That's almost 100 years ago, guys. It's crazy. And it's only gotten worse, because this is what happens. The farmer will put phosphorus, potassium, and nitrogen into the fertilizer, into the soil, because that's what the plant needs to look big and pretty, nice, pretty tomatoes, nice, pretty vegetables. But unfortunately, the soil, all the trace minerals have been leached out over years and years and years of farming the soil. And they're not, unless you're composting and you're actually returning those nutrients to the soil itself is depleted. So if the plant can't get to, can't take it up, it's not going to get in the plant, and therefore it's not going to get into you. So in 1940, 100 grams of spinach contained 158 grams of iron. And the next time they measured it was in 1965, and it was 27 grams. And in the 1990s, it was only 2.2 grams. So you think you can get iron from spinach, think again. If Popeye were here today, he wouldn't be so big and strong. He wouldn't be able to get that boost that he used to get from his can of spinach, because it's just simply not in the food. So there's a lot of reasons that you could be deficient in various nutrients. I already talked about nutrition, poor soils, but also when they process or transport foods long distance, starts to deplete all the essential fatty acids, fiber, and literally anything that's water soluble, which includes most of your vitamins and almost all of virtually all of the minerals, will just literally leach out in the processing process. And that's made worse during cooking, because heat damages the oils, and vitamins and minerals literally be lost in the water. Sometimes you'd be better off drinking the water that you steamed your vegetables in, because some of your nutrients are there. And then we now have pesticides and herbicides and all kinds of other stuff that are been sprayed on the soil, and sadly organic produce organic foods only have to be grown on soil that's been organically farmed for 3 years. So it still could be significantly depleted, and there still could be significant amount of residue of various toxins as this. And every time your body has to get rid of a pesticide or any chemical, you use a molecule of each one of these, the cofactors in that detoxification process, in order to get rid of that toxin. So if you're eating 2, 3, 10 times more pesticides than they did back in 1940, all of a sudden now you need 10 times the amount of glutathione and zinc and selenium and copper, et cetera, to be able to have the cofactors to take that out of your body. And that's, people don't realize how much, that toxic load that we're exposed to all the time really affects their nutrition, because they're being depleted. Even if you're taking enough, you could be depleted just by the detoxification process. And then malabsorption is becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger problem. There's more and more people who are gluten intolerant, which leads to malabsorption. As you get older, you don't make digestive enzymes as effectively, which helps you break down your food and allow you to absorb it. All these drugs that are given for reflux, for heartburn, things like Pepcid and Prilosec and all of those drugs block your stomach acid, which totally blocks your ability to break down protein, but also to absorb your minerals, especially calcium. So if you're taking a H2 blocker or a PPI drug, you're going to be deficient in calcium, and that contributes to osteoporosis, and that's well known and well documented. Antibiotics are pretty prevalent. Not only do we get prescribed antibiotics pretty easily in our current medical system, but also they feed antibiotics to animals, to chickens and beef, et cetera, or cows. And then that's in the meat that you're eating, and you're getting an antibiotic load, or even in milk that's not organic, you're getting those antibiotics in the food that you're eating. And those antibiotics, along with the pesticide glyphosate or Roundup, actually kill off the good bacteria in your gut, all the healthy probiotic organisms in your gut, and it leads to what we call gut dysbiosis and all sorts of GI disorders, but also malabsorption in a condition we call leaky gut, or increased intestinal permeability, where the wrong things can leak through your gut. So you don't absorb the good things, and you absorb too much of the wrong things, and that can lead to allergies and autoimmune diseases, et cetera. So, we're kind of getting hit from all different angles as far as why we're deficient. And the common solution that people would think of is to go buy one of the usually, readily available multivitamins at the grocery store or your drugstore. But the problem is that these type of multivitamins, like Centrum Silver, one a day, and there's a bunch of them, oftentimes are bound in, they're put together, and the tablet is stuck together with something like shellac or carnauba wax. Well, everybody knows what shellac is. It keeps the water from penetrating your wood furniture, right? Or your floor. That's what shellac does. So why is that in a multivitamin? Your body can't, if it can't make it water soluble, it can't break it down. And the same principle with carnauba wax. Carnauba wax is what they use to make cars shiny and keep the water from, makes the water beat up and keeps it from rusting your car. But again, you can't break that down. So even if there was enough of the essential nutrients in the right form in these types of multivitamins, if you can't break them down and you can't absorb them, they're just being wasted. You're just going right through and providing you with zero nutrition. And that's another big myth. There's two big myths in the medical profession about nutrition. And they say, well, you don't need multivitamins because you get everything you need from your foods. And I think I already disproved that one. And the second one is if you take a multivitamin, you're just getting expensive urine because you're just passing it right through. And while that is true, that vitamin C and B vitamins, et cetera, will end up, being excreted, that's assuming that they didn't do anything on the way through the body. And you still need those nutrients, even though you might need to take it, like vitamin C and your B vitamins, you really need to take every day because you're going to get rid of them. But your body needs a sufficiency of them. It needs to be saturated with them for you to have ultimate health. And every time in a multivitamin, they add more fillers and binders and what we call flowing agents like magnesium stearate. What that does is it decreases your body's ability to absorb the nutrients out of it. Go ahead, Em. So here's our wonderful solution that we came up with, the 10xPure Ultimate Multivitamin and Mineral Supplement. Now, this is a 2-a-day, twice-a-day gel cap. It has 0 fillers. It's just the gel cap and the oil, the 10xPure. So there's no fillers, there's no binders, there's nothing to interfere with absorption. And of course, as we know from our experience with the 10xPure hemp oil, CBD, and the 10x Gold, is that that's massively improved the absorption of an otherwise pretty poorly absorbed molecule, namely CBD. So we know that this multivitamin is going to improve absorption, and it doesn't have any of the negative things that would interfere with if your digestion is compromised, and you might not even know if your digestion is compromised. This is going to help aid your body to get it in more efficiently. And it's not a high potency multivitamin. It's not going to, if you're grossly magnesium deficient, it's probably not going to be the only thing that you need to take to correct that deficiency, but it is going to give you the basic building blocks that everybody needs, okay? In vitamin A, vitamin C, might want to take a little extra vitamin C, vitamin D. Again, I would generally recommend a little bit more vitamin D, but if you're not taking anything and you start taking this, your body's going to be 10 times healthier than it was to begin with. So there's a couple of things that I convinced them to put in. I put my 2 cents in and didn't have to convince, I didn't have to twist anybody's arm, but vitamin K is a cofactor for with vitamin D for proper calcium metabolism. So if you have a disease like heart disease or cancer or other arthritis, your calcium's getting in the wrong place. And what vitamin K does is it helps take it out of the wrong place and put it in the right place, along with vitamin D. So it improves bone density and helps with osteoporosis, but it also decreases some of that, what we call metastatic calcification, that's somewhere that it shouldn't be. And CTFO agreed to put all 3 forms of vitamin K in there. It's not enough to just have K1. You need the proper balance of the K1, K2, and K3, and we have all 3 of them. And the next bunch of items on there are the B vitamins. And I want to point out there's our B6, but we also want to point out that the folate is in the proper form. It's in the methyl tetrahydrofolate form. And why that's really critical is over 40% of the population now have 1 or more genes that don't allow them to methylate amino acids very easily. They're not very efficient at it, and that can lead to heart disease. It can lead to depression and other mood disorders, and it can lead to hormonal disorders and kind of metabolism of hormones that goes in the wrong direction that could even increase risk for breast cancer and other cancers. So that's really important to me. Methylfolate is not a cheap ingredient. It's an expensive ingredient, but CTFO went the right direction, did the right thing, and put the methylfolate in there. I want to point out that the B12 in this is also methyl B12. It's methylcobalamin. This label is wrong. I checked with the company, and it is indeed methylcobalamin as well. So again, the difference being that methyl group is now available for people that don't methylate well, that they can utilize that methyl group as well. So again, more B vitamins. Choline is really important for your brain and your memory and thought process. Excuse me. And then, your trace minerals are down there at the bottom. I did have them put 150 milligrams of magnesium in the bisglycinate form. When you see that word chelate, what that means is you've got like a handle on that molecule, because magnesium and these minerals are very, very tiny atoms. And unless you add a bigger molecule to it, your body doesn't absorb it very well. So if you look at most multivitamins and most vitamins in general, the majority of the magnesium in it's going to be what's called magnesium oxide. Magnesium oxide is in like milk of magnesia, for instance, and you know what that does. You don't absorb it, but it helps you to get more regular, right? So you don't want it in that form because only 10% or so of it's getting absorbed. The bisglycinate is one of the most highly absorbed forms of any of the chelating agents that help with these, absorption of these minerals. And you can see every single one of the trace minerals from, magnesium, zinc, selenium, magnesium, manganese, chromium, and molybdenum all have the glycinate forms of the bisglycinate form. And that, again, not a cheap choice. It's much cheaper to put the oxide or the carbonate or the citrate form in there, but it's only going to be 10 to 40% absorbed. So this, even though the amounts don't look like they're, super high, it doesn't matter because you're going to get better absorption, both because of, the form that they're chelated with, as well as the fact that it's in the 10xPure, which we'll get to, I think, on the next slide. So this is essentially just a sum up of what I just said. full spectrum of all the B vitamins for energy, for your hair. Things like biotin and inositol are really important for hair growth. Methylfolate, we talked about 40% of the population can't use folic acid. And indeed, folic acid is a synthetic vitamin. It's not a naturally occurring vitamin. And it can actually cause depletion of folate and a folate deficiency, as well as has been thought to be colon cancer. So, it's really important that we have that methylfolate form and not the synthetic folic acid. We tried to get the optimal amounts of nutrients for basic nutrition and replace those trace minerals that are depleted from the soil. It has vitamin D3 in it, which is the active form. D2 is oftentimes what you'll get at your grocery store or your drugstore. You get D2. Your body still has to convert that. That's another step, and not all people, in fact, most people don't do that conversion very effectively. So they really aren't necessarily going to get the vitamin D in the form that they need it. It has to be in the vitamin D. And then we talked about vitamin K, supporting bone density as well as preventing abnormal calcifications. So we put 24 key nutrients in here. It doesn't contain calcium, by the way, because I don't think you can get enough calcium to be of benefit in a twice daily cap, because calcium is a big molecule or a big atom, and to get enough of it in there, you would have to take 4 capsules or 6 capsules. So we didn't put anything in that wasn't critical. We didn't put anything in that wasn't something that I thought was critical, or that we could do at or above the recommended daily intake, so that we're providing a good amount of these nutrients. Kind of a pet peeve of mine that a lot of vitamin manufacturers will put in what I call a dusting of something. They'll put in 10 milligrams of CoQ10, which really isn't going to help anybody. So, it's an expensive ingredient. So they'll put 10 milligrams in, which really isn't, like I say, enough to do anything. And yet now they can say, oh, it's with CoQ10, but it's not going to really help you. So it's kind of a little deceptive in the advertising when you see that type of thing. So I wanted to make sure that every nutrient was at or above kind of the base nutrition level that everybody should have. The recommended daily intake is kind of the base level. So GMP certified to me is really important. We've talked about this a lot with the hemp oil products, but GMP is really important because if you don't have certificate of analysis, and you don't have nobody's checking to verify that the manufacturing is actually to the standard that's been set, then you don't even know what you're getting. So I always say you're just wasting it. You're wasting your money if it's not GMP certified, because how do you know? There's literally been many published studies that have shown that it may say 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C on the label. Can you go back one? 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C on the label, and it could be anywhere from 200 to 1,500 milligrams of vitamin C, unless it's GMP certified, and then you're within 5% plus or minus. It's gluten-free. There's more and more gluten intolerance in the population, as we said, so that's really important. It is keto-friendly. There's no carbs or sugars in it, obviously. No fillers and binders that interfere with absorption, as I said before, and it's manufactured right here in the good old US of A. And actually, one of the top gel cap manufacturers is the manufacturer for this product. And if you don't absorb your nutrients, taking a multivitamin isn't going to help you. And multivitamins, because they're concentrated, are the most common cause of people saying, oh, I can't take vitamins because they upset my stomach and they make me nauseous. When you put it in a gel cap, it's going to be a whole lot better, number one, and you're going to get it absorbed. So it's not going to be just breaking open and sitting in your stomach, upsetting your stomach. And then the 10xPure, we love the 10xPure because it markedly improves absorption, and it optimizes the bioavailability and absorption and delivery, even more important than getting across the intestinal tract. I mean, first of all, it's got to get across the intestinal tract, get carried through the blood, and then it's got to get into your cells, which is the site of action of most of the vitamins and minerals, because they're cofactors to various metabolic processes in your body. And it's two gel caps. They're large, but they're, you know, easy to swallow, and they're really great. I've been taking it now since Reno, and I think it's just a wonderful multi. And there it is, the ultimate, 10X Ultimate.
Fantastic, Robban. So thank you for being on this event here and sharing your wealth of knowledge on this. To summarize just real briefly, what I'm hearing from you is that we've got the right forms of the the nutrients that are in there, thanks to you. We also have the right amount, so there's not a dusting, just so we could say it's on the label, you know. And then of course you've got the 10xPure, which that absorption factor, in your estimation, you know, what kind of absorption are we talking about in this product versus, say, you know, another product that might be even of decent quality?
Well, I wouldn't recommend the Centrums and the one-a-days, as I said, because you're not going to get anything out of those. They're very low milligram amounts, and then, you know, they're bound up so you can't even absorb them. But comparing this to some of the top brands that I have been using in the past, you know, the amounts and everything are comparable. We really strove to get that, you know, kind of to the standard for a twice-a-day multi. Of course, I can't make any kind of claim or promise about the absorption, but if we compare to the to hemp oil, CBD is only 6% absorbed, and it's close to 100% absorption with the 10x when it's combined with the 10x Pure. Plus, we know it gets into the tissues. As I said, that's really critical. So, you know, it's hard to know how the 10x is going to work with each and every one of these different 24 different nutrients in here, but I can only say it's going to improve the absorption of virtually everything, particularly if it's a harder or more fat soluble vitamin that's trying to get across the GI tract.
Well, I got to say it's certainly something a lot of people are very excited about taking. You know, you can get this product for $49.97, but if you're on the auto ship, you save 5%, and so it's $47.48 if you're on an auto ship with our company. And boy, this is a great auto ship product because you're going to consume this. There's a month supply in there, 2 a day. And, you know, I personally have been taking it for just a few days now. I noticed the sleep quality of mine has been better. I noticed just my energy levels are really good. And, you know, I take some pretty good nutrition overall, or have in the past. And but it's just nice to get back to having some really a basis for my nutrition. And I look at it like it's basically an insurance policy, right? If I do something like this on a regular basis, what is that going to do for me moving into the future as far as my health goes and the money that I'm not going to have to spend later on with illness and sickness?
Yeah, exactly. It's really about prevention. You know, once somebody reaches me and they're like on that right side with that huge stack of stressors, it takes a lot to undo that and unwind all of that. It's much better to if you're healthy, to just spend a few bucks to maintain your health and really, you know, be in that preventive state where you're not getting sick and you're not, you know, as susceptible to whatever things you would be susceptible to.
Fantastic. Well, Robban, thanks so much. We only have a few minutes left here. Is there anything, other last thoughts that you'd like to say about, you know, wellness or CTFO or this product right here that you can wrap up for us?
Well, I'm just really proud that CTFO, you know, stood up to the plate and said, yeah, we're going to do the right things. We're going to put the right things in here, and, you know, make it a really great product, because it would just be, it's so easy to, you know, sneak out and say, oh, we're going to do this instead of that because it's less expensive. And CTFO didn't do that. They really, you know, they really hit it out of the park on this one.
Fantastic. Well, hey, this is available in all the countries I believe that we're doing business in. There is no CBD in this product. Be really clear about that. I know the 10xPure name can confuse people, but that's the technology. That's the delivery system that makes this so bioavailable and absorbable. And we're using that technology that we have used and continue to use with our incredible CBD line, the 10xPure Gold and other 10xPure products that we've just launched. And we're using that same technology, that same oil oxygenated oil now with other great, nutrients. And we're going to see some amazing results. So anyway, Robban, thanks so much for being on the webinar today. We're looking forward to doing another webinar soon. We're going to be talking a little bit about our 14-day low-carb lifestyle program. We'll be doing that sometime after Thanksgiving, because who wants to start that before Thanksgiving, right? and we'll let everybody know about that when that comes about. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great afternoon. Thanks, Robban, for everything. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.